in Israel. He was he went through Birobidzhan. This is when in 1939 the Stalin was sending the. You're not taking that.
Don't pay any attention to him.
Please don't do that.
Oh, no, it's okay.
His name is Dobin.
Dubin?
Dobin, Gregory Dobin, and he's a Russian, a Jewish writer. He was a Russian writer. His son is still in Tel Aviv in one of the newspapers. But my father's uncle went to Birobidzhan. This is where, and I don't know if you know anything about Birobidzhan. That was a part of Siberia, very close on the eastern side of Siberia, where close to China. It's a place where absolutely miserable conditions, and the people. Stalin had plans in 1939 to send all of the Russian Jews to Siberia. My uncle was of the people who lived there for a couple of years before the war. Then he came back right at the beginning, right when the war began, getting ready to start, and ended up being in a ghetto, in the Minsk ghetto. This is Belarusian. And he writes books. He used to write books, and I have several of his books at home.
I didn't talk to any survivors, but in this case we were focused on Jews and World War II liberators. The Russian Jews' story, similar but different to the Hungarian Jews. Completely different than the Polish Jews. Completely different than the German Jews. It's so amazing to me how the same war, completely different experiences. Some people talked about the Russian soldiers being barbarians. People talked about the American soldiers as being heroes. But both were liberators. So it's amazing to me. We had people in the same day that talked about how the Russian soldiers had come to the camps and passed out chocolate and helped them. Those next day somebody talked about how they came to the camp and raped them. So I am just overwhelmed.
People are people.
People are people, and I am repeatedly overwhelmed by the amazing differences in the stories. I'm overwhelmed by the humility that so many of these survivors are feeling. They're feeling like they come in and they say, I wasn't in the camp. I'm not really a survivor. We had a man that came in that talked about how he started by saying, my story is not very dramatic and not very extraordinary, and he was embarrassed. But he was an 8-year-old Polish Jewish boy who lived undercover as a Polish boy whose parents were murdered, who sold vegetables door to door and lived on the streets for 3 years as a Polish boy with stolen Polish papers. And I found it unbelievable that he found that not very extraordinary. And it's so humble. I didn't go to Auschwitz, I didn't go to Dachau. And even the people at the camp, sometimes they say, well, I was only in Dachau for a year. My sister was there for 3 years. My daughter was there. It's a hierarchy that they minimize themselves automatically.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. I can tell you another story that will be absolutely shocking. My uncle married a lady after the war who was saved by the same police, the Ukrainian police, from when the rest of her family was taken to the grave and were shot.
By the Ukrainian police.
By the Ukrainian police. She survived the war in a pickle barrel for 3 years.
In a pickle barrel.
Yes. Every time when German soldiers or the local police or local people were coming, they were hiding her in a pickle barrel for years. She's alive today and still lives in Riga, Russia. She's all of her. She is. I don't know if you know Russian tea, Brodsky. She is the Brodsky. She is the family. This is her family, and every one of them were killed. by the German.
It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And I have yet to meet a survivor yet
Who doesn't have a story.
Who didn't make a success out of their life. They made a complete success out of their life. They became educated and
Correct.
had children, and they remain survivors to this day.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
They're a complete inspiration to me, which is
Exactly.
what they need to be. We lost Olga. I thought there might be one.
Да, у меня 4 часа, я должна была быть дома, но я немножко задержалась. А который час сейчас?
Well, I promise I won't keep her. I just
Okay.
Did
you want to do the microphone?
She's
for that
mic'd.
too?
Oh,
No,
took the
she's
mic off.
already took it off.
All right, you want to mic her?
I have to.
Thank you.
I have to be mic'd.
Yeah.
Yes,
Matter of
you
fact, if
do.
you leave your name tag, I'll just put it right on your sticky pad tag here.
Which language is it to me?
Okay.
That's the
Well,
question.
I'm
yeah.
actually very good in Russian
I
now.
know.
Oh, listen to
You
her.
should see me.
Okay, you're all good.
Clear.
So we'll have to get rid of that day job you were going after as an interpreter.
As interpreter.
I'm a terrible Russian linguist. I came into the military, and I was going to be a Russian linguist. And I went to school for 6 months, and they kicked me out. You can't learn fast enough. Leave. So it was terrible.
Yeah,
It
but
was a
he's very
traumatic
good in
time of my life.
Korean. He couldn't speak Russian, but he speaks wonderful Korean, so it's amazing.
Korean should be more difficult.
Well, that's what you would think. I mean, he speaks, you should hear his Korean. It's excellent. And it's,
Do you speak Korean?
No.
But how do you know he speaks so well?
Well,
Because he said so.
because he said so.
I speak good restaurant Korean.
And he can order in restaurants. It's very
Oh,
impressive.
that's impressive. I like that.
That's how he won my heart. I love a man who
That's
can
my,
order in
my
another
favorite
language.
Russian term. Два пива, пожалуйста.
Два пива, пожалуйста.
What is that?
2 beers, please.
Beers, please.
My high school friend. Je vais à la plage. I'm going to the beach.
I'm going to
It's the only thing I can remember.
На пляж.
A little bit of Hebrew, a little bit of Yiddish. Schwitzing I've learned in the last
Schwitzen.
5 days. I've used that. Schwitzing and schlepping. Those are 2 words.
Schlepping.
We
Going on.
we got a lot of schwitzing, a lot of schlepping. But I know you got to go. I don't want to hold you up, but I would think it was really important that we talk to you because this whole project has been dependent on, at the risk of quoting a movie celebrity, the kindness of strangers. It truly has been. And in one sense, we've had to rely a lot on the Jewish community to step up and help us with housing, as far as places that the survivors can feel safe and comfortable and to be able to talk freely. But you're not a survivor. You might be the descendant of survivors.
Correct.
You didn't know us at all.
And there's my mom, who is a survivor. Okay, I'm okay.
Oh, come on in.
Ты хочешь, можешь зайти посидеть?
And I found it extraordinary that you had taken the day off work to help us and do the
And I'm so late.
interpreting.
And I was
know.
supposed to be back at 3 o'clock.
I know, and I promise. The thing is, we just wanted to talk to you about that because I was just kind of curious why you were motivated to do that.
Because of the history of the Russian Jews, the survivors of the Holocaust, and the way right now the younger, and I'm talking about not my generation, maybe their generation, don't know about the war, don't know about the Holocaust, and a lot of people in denial. What it didn't even happen, it's just propaganda. And we're not talking about the 6 million who were killed. What about the millions of people who were wounded? And people need to know what happened. And it's just depreciation of the Jews who survive. And it's just, I have to disagree with our latest lady who said it didn't have a lot of religious Jews. Because of the most religious Jews, Judaism still exists in this world. Because if everybody would be reformed, it would disappear. Our children wouldn't go to schools and our children wouldn't know anything. So just like a reminder to the world, this is what happened, this is what people lived, this is what people paid the price.
We had a survivor say that God was actually in the camps with them and was an inmate among them and was as wounded as they were. Do you believe that?
Yes,
Do you think a lot of it is the faith that kept them strong?
I believe so. I believe. And Jewish people are peaceful people, and they never believed what anyone, and this is what, and I don't remember who, one of the people said, but the Jews, the rabbi, took the bread because they wanted peace. They didn't want a war. They didn't want to kill, and they couldn't believe what anyone will do to them, what actually happened to them. They died in concentration camp hoping what something would save them. And it didn't happen. But my grandmother used to say, Jews like grass. You cut them real low, and after the first rain, they will start growing again. And it will be more beautiful than they were before. I want to believe in that too.
We've been through a lot.
We've been through a lot.
Since the
We
beginning of
survived.
time. We have survived it all.
And we're still here.
We're still here.
And look, you turn the TV on, and it's only how many people in a tiny little country like Israel, where it takes you from north to south, from east to west, 6 hours one way, 2 hours another way, and you turn the TV and they talk about Israel every single day. We did something right.
I've been finding, what I've been finding so extraordinary about this project is there are so many stories that you see in the news, and people that have had abusive childhoods and have committed heinous crimes, and there's a lot of sympathy because they had trauma as children. And I look at these survivors and I think 3 years in a ghetto, starving, and grandparents have starved to death. We had a gentleman that had been to 7 camps in a death march and had lost everybody in his family but his brother, and he became a pediatrician. Never once were any of these survivors that we've talked to, not one, been limited in their success or their perseverance by their trauma, which is something extraordinary in itself.
That's true. I look at people in this country. What do Russians accomplish when they come to this country? And I don't want to use myself as an example,
Go
but
ahead.
why not?
Sure.
What we accomplished, and I have a witness sitting right here. We came to the United States in 1979, 5 of us. My mom, my ex-husband, 2 children, and I. Simona was 6, and Michael was 2.
Your children.
And we accomplished. My son graduated from UT Knoxville, works in Atlanta, Georgia. My daughter went to Israel for a year, went to Sharfman's, and graduated from Stern. After 6 years, moved back to Memphis, married a Memphis boy, and lives here. We accomplished a lot. I went to 2 colleges in this country in 20 years.
You forgot about your granddaughter.
Yeah, I have a grandbaby, and I lost the microphone.
You have a grandbaby.
I have a grandbaby who is 2 years
2
old.
years, 3 months.
Gabriella
Gabriella.
Rose.
Beautiful little girl.
Yes, we did accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
This lady helped us a lot. And she's a survivor. She survived. And I was telling them about the Arkadiy's wife, Tefira, who survived,
Yeah.
and all of her family was killed.
You're a ghetto survivor, a camp survivor,
No.
a war survivor?
No.
She did not go. She was one of the people who was able to move away.
You were. In what year?
41.
In
1941, you were able to move away?
yes,
She moved
a
away.
week after the war started.
They
29th
got.
of June.
They didn't have a horse and a buggy. They had a buggy, but they didn't have a horse. They were the horses.
And how old
And-
were you?
16 then.
16.
16. And you were able to escape.
And they
With my
went
mother.
starved
And
a
my
brother
my
and a sister-in-law and a baby.
And a baby.
And
A
where did you
2-year-old
escape to?
baby.
we went, we traveled by the train. They give a train, the government.
They went to Uzbekistan.
We went a lot of places.
Uzbekistan,
first.
this is very, very close to Afghanistan. And it was
Uzbekistan
burning
and
up
Kazakhstan
100
and
degrees
Tajikistan and
at daytime
everywhere.
and 40 or 30 degrees at night. And you wake up, you burn up at daytime. And she was working on a cotton field. Her fingers and her brother, her youngest brother, who is 4 years younger,
3 years.
he's the one who was working collecting the breadcrumbs and was bringing to the niece.
That was your brother.
And was my mama's brother was collecting breadcrumbs and bringing, and he would give everyone, he would count little breadcrumbs, who will eat how many breadcrumbs, and he would scream at her, you cannot have an extra one just because.
Give it to mommy.
Give it to mommy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
my
a lot.
and when my grandmother had 7 children, and
You were one of
4
7?
yes, Mama
You were
was
one of 7
yeah,
children?
7.
And then we left, it was 5 of us.
What do you mean? Who left 5?
And then when after, in the wartime, 5.
Her brother was paralyzed in the war, the oldest brother. He died in '56, and then
Another brother was in army too. Yes. And
her
co-
brother
and
served in
committed.
military. After the war, he stayed in military for 30 years,
Yeah.
and he retired as a general.
Your brother stayed in the military?
He's still in
No.
Russia. He stayed in military.
Until pension. When
He retired after 30 years
After
in
30
military.
years. After the war, he
After
was in
the war,
military.
he was in
Wow.
Air Force. He was a pilot,
Wow.
and he stayed in military for 30 years.
What do you remember most about your experience?
Everything.
When you think about it, though, some people remember the separation from their family. Some people remember the hunger, the betrayal. What do you think you remember
I-
the most?
I was together with my family.
You were together with your family.
Yeah. We left Russia, not Russia, hometown, together, 5 of us, and we come together with the father. Then we come all.
No, he found you.
Yeah, we found.
Your father found
It's
you?
a yeah. It's a
Help
it
me
was
understand,
a
just so I get this. One
a-
second, I want to make sure I
Just a
understand this.
second.
Your family left without your father.
mhm.
And you know why? The weirdest story about the whole thing.
He didn't
He
believe.
didn't believe. He was one of the people who was told, "But the Germans will not kill the Jews." He had 2 houses, and the lady, what's her name, Olga, said Russians never had any private homes. You had 2 homes at the beginning of the war.
2 houses.
2 houses. One was their home, and the other one they were rented out on the same property.
So your husband didn't believe the Germans.
That's not the
I-
husband. This
16
is
years old.
Oh,
her
I'm
father.
sorry, I meant your father.
the father.
Your father didn't believe his wife.
No,
He
Father.
did not believe that the Germans will kill the Jews.
I won't tell you why.
Why did your mother believe it?
My mother, she was scared, and she said. "We
And
will
she
go,
had 3
we will."
and she had 3 sons in military,
Yes, in the army.
in the army. At the time of the war, 3 of her sons were serving.
Do you think that, so she left because she was saying, I don't care
I
if it's
don't want-
true or not, I don't want to take the
He
chance.
wanted to
Yes,
protect the
no,
property
I want to
also.
Leave. I don't want to
Mom.
be. Yeah.
He wanted to protect the property.
Yeah.
He wanted to protect the houses.
She
and
wanted
the
to get the
first
kids
and
out.
she said, "I don't care about the material things.
Yes.
I am
I'm
out
outta
of here."
Yeah.
So
Yes,
she
with the
got
children.
she got on put the stuff she could and left. The first bomb would hit the city. Several families get out of here because this is what the Germans said. This is what will happen, and
Did
he
you know where
crossed.
your mother
Oh
was?
no,
No, we didn't.
No.
No.
he didn't find anyone. But after 4
And-
years,
Yes.
Tashkent. They went to Tashkent,
And where's
it's
that?
Uzbekistan.
Okay.
They went first. Где вы сразу, куда вы сразу?
Воронежская
Воронежская область. This is close to Sibir, Siberia, Stalingrad.
It's not Siberia.
Воронежская.
It's Russian.
Russia. It's Russia.
Russia.
In Russia.
Russian.
Because
So
my
for 4
mom.
years, he didn't know where you were. You
No.
didn't know where he was.
No, but he was running too from
He was
place
running.
to place. Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
But he got away. He got away and
you
he
saw, how
survived.
did you see him again? How did you find each other?
Oh, he found them.
It's a big city in Russia, Buguruslan. And in this city, from everywhere, used to come letters. I look for my father, I look for my brother, you know, everything. That's what they funded us and funded them. And he
Tell me
already-
about when you saw your dad for the first time.
No, it was funny, of course. We come to him after he bought for us a
My grand-
place to live there. This was in Gzilarda, Kazakhstan. You know Almaty, you heard the Almaty, Kazakhstan.
Mom.
And,
Okay.
and we used to live in Gzilarda, he was. And we come to him.
And my grandparents were very religious people. Very religious.
So you remember that day when you saw
Oh,
him?
yeah, yes. December the 5th.
Oh.
Can you imagine?
I remember, of course. I
1944.
was working already. I was a big girl.
God,
was
60 years ago.
You were about 20 now, right?
Yes. Yes.
How soon before you got married?
When come to Russian in 48.
Went back home. At the home, their home got destroyed, so they moved about 20 kilometers, that's about 15 miles, to another place where Mama's uncle, they got killed in concentration camps.
Our home was with fire, go with fire. And,
Was your home set fire by arson?
A
or
bomb,
just
a
falling?
bomb.
Planes,
Bomb.
with the planes. Yeah.
Oh, this was the first home. This
Yeah.
was,
The
okay,
first-
okay. I thought you meant a new
And
home.
then they met my father. She met my father
Where did you meet him?
in the
A
neighborhood.
party. It was a party.
In the
At a party?
neighborhood,
Yes.
Oh.
And you saw me, and that's
and
it.
he was 17, and Mama was
No, 19.
How old?
9.
no 19 when you got married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We fell in
Anyway,
love.
and this is a total different story now. They were married for exactly 20 years, and my father got accidentally killed, almost at their anniversary, 20 years anniversary.
How?
In the same day, Tuesday he got killed. Electricity accident.
In the front yard of our house. But that's a different story. I can tell you. Oh yeah, I was
It's
17.
a lot of stories.
It's a lot of stories.
Well, would you mind if we took your picture?
Oh, of course, Mom, go over there.
I
Mom,
look terrible.
Mom, you
No,
look
you're
gorgeous.
beautiful.
You know what? I look in the mirror and I think, oh, how old I am.
Mom used to be
And my
beautiful.
She is beautiful.
Mom, what
I
happened?
look in
You
the
have
mirror and I feel
wrinkles.
the same
Mom,
way.
you have wrinkles. Mom,
Yes,
I have to
believe
run.
you.
I'm already 35 minutes late.
You know, your daughter is waiting for me.
Where?
My granddaughter. At home in her house. She called me a few times.
She called here, too.
And she
Okay,
want-
go take a picture.
She
I will
wants
talk to
you
her.
to take me to her house.
Oh my goodness, I'm so late.
Yeah.
Go,
Okay.
go.
Wait,
Take-
a picture.
Mom, go
I,
take pictures. You
I,
look
I
good.
look terrible.
Mom, we'll always.
Just it'll take a minute.
We took a picture of four of us generations. Hi. Babushka is taking pictures. She's a movie star. Babushka is the movie star. Yes, and you know I'm so really.
Oh, babushka, that's right.
Right.
Been hearing that all day, babushka.
Okay, I will bring her over to your house. I will drop her off. Okay. I love
This is gonna flash, okay? But I want you looking in here.
Why?
Okay.
Why?
I'll just take a few. Head down just a little, that's good.
Area code 901? No, I'll be in DC.
Joseph, will you get her to sign a release? Sign a release?
That's right.
Yeah, and her mom. You can put them on both on the same one if you want.
Can you come over once for a quick with the two of you?
Yes, that's what Joseph suggested.
And I want you, yes, real, sort of bend over just a little to get, yeah, there we go. Let me just give you a second. It's just right.
I have a little stuff in my hands.
Great idea, Joby.
Even bend down just a little, that's good.
As long as you don't see my knees.
No, we're not seeing your knees. Wish I could see the focus.
Good. Just doing like cheese crackers.
Wow.
Chicken like one every hour.
Okay, I want you to look right in here. And one more. And one more.
Get one more.
Oh, that's nice.
One more. I didn't say it was the last one. I just said one more. Right in. Good. And one more. This is the last one. Because the roll is done. Okay, right in here. Very nice. Thanks.
Thank you.
It will be so many.